Hello?
Right there. Almost up. Hold on one second.
Can you hear me, Hal?
I can hear you just fine. Can you hear me?
Outstanding.
Oh,
I can hear
hold
you.
on.
Yep.
Check. Check one. All right. I know my mic is working. Question is...
Good. Hello? Good.
Hello?
Mine switched to
Yep.
my AirPods. But I got
Yes,
it back.
I hear you just fine.
You're back
You hear
home.
me? Yep.
I can hear you. You sound the dulcet tones of a beautiful man.
Thank you. Mission accomplished. All right, we're getting started.
I know that's what you were going for.
Let's see, where is it? All right. We are getting very close. All right, I think, let's see, we start up Instagram and Substack, and we will begin live in just moments.
Outstanding.
Hey, and you're louder too. That's good. That's helpful.
I like to be loud.
It's good. I'm for it.
It's my personality.
Yeah. All right, there we go. Substack is definitely up. Now we'll try Instagram. There we go. We'll go live on Instagram. And good morning, Andrea and CSL. Hello. What's happening?
Hello, Andrea, TFL.
All right, we're gonna get started in, let's see, 1 second. Okay. Okay. All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the show. All right. I got to say, okay, I'm going to bring on our first guest of the morning, the great, the powerful, the majestic Cliff Schechter in just a second. But I'm going to insist that you subscribe to his Substack, and I'll wait. Okay, you got it? Good. All right, excellent. And chat room, good morning. Hi, everybody. Share the show, send likes out. It's the greatest way to annoy the maggot in your life. Although I think personally, they couldn't be more annoyed than they are this morning. And for many, many reasons, and not all of them is that they are watching Trump turn into smails right before their very eyes. But first, let me bring in our dear friend, Cliff Schechter. Hello,
melting!
Cliff.
I'm melting! Sorry, that's Trump right now, kind of, in every way.
Oh,
Like,
I gotta
you
say,
can't tell if it's the hand melting into the cankles, into the brain matter, into the it's all falling apart.
I gotta say, okay, it's shit the bed wonderful right now, and there's a lot of things. I gotta bring up the golf video just to kind of start things off. For those that have not seen it, it is exactly. You know, my girlfriend, who is very astute and very smart, and I'm, just constantly, annoyingly in touch with the realities of life in such a way that it almost is a painful reminder that I'm not with her just for her looks. Does
it make you feel a bit inadequate at times that she has such sensory perception? How?
No. You know why? Because I have earned her company. So anytime somebody is like, better than me in their presence, I must be keeping up on some level, right?
That's how I feel on this show.
There you go. It's the best I can do. So, damn it, I got to bring up the footage of this because it's so gloriously, it's so majestically stupid.
And can I also just introduce it by telling people that share this everywhere, because there's very few things that Trump is more insecure about than his manlyhood when it comes to golf. In fact, one of the Sports Illustrated writers, Riley, Rick Riley, wrote a whole book on how Trump cheats at golf.
Right.
And Trump lost his mind. I'm surprised he didn't sue him.
Right. So
It's up
this
there with
is,
the small penis thing that the South Park did to him.
yeah.
Like, it bothers him that much.
Okay, so in case anybody has missed this, this is so glorious. So this is Trump is rolling up on his little golf cart because the only exercise that comes from golf is walking, and he's trying his best to eliminate that as much as possible. Now, the thing you have to watch is this fellow right here who has Trump's golf ball in his hand. And if you,
he has a golf ball in his hand.
Yes, that's
Trump
true.
Was probably in the rough or in the trees, or maybe
in the pit,
exited
in the sand.
planet Earth.
Right.
He may have actually exited our orbit because
that's
such a bad shot.
I'm giving him the assumption that he's still on the course. I'm being far too generous. You're absolutely right, Cliff Schecter. Watch this little guy's hand right here. Whoop. That's it. That's all of it. There you go. So I'll move this over a little bit, but it is so glorious. The other guy is like, it's almost like he's giving notes.
Do you do it in slow mo? Because I don't know if you can, but it's so awesome that everybody should really.
Yeah, that's boop. I just like it. Poop.
The story, by the way.
Poop.
Go ahead.
There it is.
Al.
Poop. That it is. That, ladies and gentlemen, that is Donald Trump getting assistance from his staff to cheat at golf in the most pathetic way possible. This is how stupid he is. He knows he's on camera everywhere. He's in a foreign country. The foreign press is watching. They
hate him.
They hate his.
Remember, the Scottish press, unlike our shitty corporate press that would never do this because they're all bought and owned by 47 different entities and would be scared of being sued so that they could then pay him off and fire Stephen Colbert. Their press actually had on the cover of their newspaper, a felon is coming to Scotland to introduce Donald Trump coming there. They don't give a shit, which I love about the Scottish.
Yeah.
Love.
Yeah. Like that.
They'll cover it. There's no censoring.
Right. And then, of course, Trump gets up and saunters over to it as if it's his. Boink. There we go. So this is so good.
I think it's important here, Hal, and this is the reason why, like, at times I just get so exasperated.
Yeah.
It's sort of like, couldn't we at least have elected a more intelligent, less gaudy, and less all-around absolutely fucking pathetic person? This is a person that brags about winning his golf tournament at Mar-a-Lago and his golf courses or wherever every year, and everybody knows he didn't really do it, but he still feels a need to do it.
Yeah.
And he cheats so much at golf, an actual book was written on it. Like, you'd think being president for that giant hole that exists where most of us have a soul and any self-worth, you'd think that being elected president would take care of that, but nothing can. This man he is such a Grand Canyon of just self-loathing and insecurity. I mean, just think about it. It's like to have a guy help you cheat at golf while you're president of the United fucking States.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just like the other lies he tells, like, oh, I did the best on my SATs, but he won't share them with us. Oh, I made the most money on this deal, but he won't share it with us. Oh, my health is the best of anybody else's, but he won't show it to. Like, just is. He's so pathetic. It hurts. It hurts me.
It's worse. Okay, so right about the time you think it's very much like Dumb and Dumber. Just when I think you couldn't do anything any dumber, you go and do something like this and totally redeem yourself. Okay, so
that's awesome.
One of the things that we've heard lately, and I am not putting a lot of weight on this cryptic Bongholio tweet that came out where he was saying that that the things that he's seen behind the scenes has totally shocked him to his core or some shit like that. And everybody's associating it with the Epstein thing. I think he's buying himself an off-ramp. I think he's trying to find some other bullshit around Russiagate or whatever he's thinking that he can make it look like, oh, that's way worse, and go chasing that bone.
Of course. How could I don't understand how anybody could see anything he says, does, really anything, and take it at face value. If he's tweeting that, a smart person sits there and says, okay, what's the plan? What's the con? What's the lie? What's the conspiracy? He's already sent Tulsi out there to try to make up some crap about prosecuting Obama, which they never will do. Obama would have immunity under the stupid Supreme Court anyhow. Right. But it doesn't even matter because they don't have anything on Obama, because when it comes out, when you start parsing what Tulsi actually says, you realize she's leaving out all of the important parts about what Obama did, and nothing in any way was
Nope.
manipulated.
Well, and
So
then if she's going, like, if there's an idea that if Obama's going to jail, then so is Marco Rubio, because they're on the exact same page about this as was everybody else. It's so lame. It's just pathetic. And then
you know what it is? It's the black president. It's that if I've got a base,
and people still like him more.
What can how can I reunite my base, half of whom hate me right now because I built it for years on a lie about a Q conspiracy theory about Democrats and elites having a pedophilia ring? What can I do to make? Oh, let's bring up the black guy. I bet the black president can do. I mean, they're already throwing.
You have to, because Cliff, if you can't bring up the elite pedophile sex ring if you're the guy covering for it. If you're literally the guy burying the story and then throwing the last pile, shovels full of dirt on it to cover the fact that you're all over it. And I have to say, just when I thought this couldn't get any dumber, I gotta say, I'm very seldom shocked, Cliff. You know this about me. Like, I can see a lot of this BS coming, but I think it's Trump's brain fry that is making, like, the lies less palatable, or less, like, within magotdom. Okay, so one of the stories is, and I've seen a bunch of people running cover for Trump around how he stopped being friends with Jeffrey Epstein because he was a creep and he kicked him out. This is what Glenn Beck has said and all this stuff. Okay, first of all, that's horseshit. It was always about a real estate deal. There was a real estate deal. They were jockeying for a piece of property, and the battle for that piece of property, because Epstein was driving up the cost Trump about $10 million more to get that piece of property, and he was pissed at Epstein. And it is my personal theory that he's the dude who called the cops on Epstein, and he's the dude who tipped him off. So he could get him in shit and go...
And you know why that would make sense? How?
Because he does it all the time?
That would make sense. Well, yes, but also, it drives me crazy. Again, it's sort of like what you said earlier, like where people, like, they're analyzing this tweet of his as if would any human being with, like, half of a cerebral cortex working take anything this man says at face value or seriously? Right? When you see a pattern of people's behavior, it's not like it stops. It continues. And his pattern has been... So what's another pattern of his? To do unbelievably stupid things in the short term that harm him in the long term, because he has impulse control problems among his 47 other DSM-5 disorders that he has. So, of course, he would respond by doing that and not thinking to himself, gee, I'm all over the Epstein files. Maybe I shouldn't drop dime on that guy to the cops. No, he'd go to the cops. I'm sure, again, I have to say allegedly.
That's why I think he tipped him off. That's why I think he went...
Inside, I know it was him. Yes.
Yes, and I think that's why he called him up and went, oh, fuck, wait a second. He's got video of me. Hey, buddy, I just heard the cops are coming for you. And then he thinks Epstein owes him again, which is why, by the way, there are all these phone calls between him and Epstein after they supposedly broke up. Now, the dumbest fucking thing is this lie that, like, he was, and I've made the case, that it is actually not a moral stance for him to kick somebody out because they were trying to fuck one of the kids of one of his club members, because... what he's essentially saying is, I don't give a shit if you farm from the local poor girls, from the trailer park girls and the girls at the high schools in West Palm Beach. They're trash. Do what you want. But if you affect my membership-only club, then you're out. There's nothing moral about that. As a matter of fact, it's so contrived. It's almost like chumming with the boy. It's so gross.
Or he screwed him on another deal again. This is a person, we know behavior very rarely changes. It's why algorithms work. We're very predictable beings.
Well, this is, okay, so I have to show you something.
One of the worst humans alive. So let me just say this one point. So if you know that all he cares about, he screws over every business partner. He ends up paying contractors 40 cents on the dollar. He screws over workers, the Polish workers who are undocumented who helped him build Trump Tower, screwed them over. I mean, again, the people that helped Trump Taj Mahal, he destroyed their small businesses because he wouldn't pay them. You see this again and again and again, and you realize whatever happened with Epstein when he kicked him out of the club, either was for self-protection, or because he comes first, or was about money. Like, there's nothing else it was about, because he doesn't care about anything else.
But all he's got to do, I agree. All he's got to do, though, is maintain the lie that's helping him the most. So in this particular case, all he has to do is shut the fuck up about why he stopped hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein, because Glenn Beck and all these far-right podcasters that are still on Team Trump, like Benny Johnson, even though he's supposedly, against him on this, they all run the same lie. They all tell
Benny
the same
Johnson's
story.
Also on Team Russia, as we know.
Right, yeah.
Fact.
But
he's on Team Putin.
The story they all tell is that he kicked him out for being a creep. All he has to do is shut the fuck up. And then he goes to Turnberry. He's going to, Scotland, because he needs to drag the entire fucking government over there to basically pay for his property for the next 5 years by being there for a long weekend. What he charges the U.S. government, the taxpayer, to bring all that shit to his own properties is how he keeps them afloat. Turnberry's a fucking dump. So is Aberdeen.
All of his places. That's what I mean. All of his places. Even, I mean, look again. The patterns of behavior. Look at the dumps. The bed bug field. All these places have been condemned before back here. Bedminster and all these. They're shitholes. To use a phrase from somebody.
And now that he can't hire illegal immigrants anymore at a bunch of these places because he'll be caught, because his own Tom Homan will round them up before on their way to the job. It's more expensive to run his properties, so they're less profitable, because he's always done this. Now, listen to his explanation. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, listen to his explanation now of why he stopped being friends with Jeffrey Epstein.
That's such old history, very easy to explain, but I don't want to waste your time by explaining it. But for years, I wouldn't talk to Jeffrey Epstein. I wouldn't talk, because he did something that was inappropriate. He hired help. And I said, don't ever do that again. He stole people that worked for me. I said, don't ever do that again. He did it again. And I threw him out of the place, persona non grata. I threw him out, and that was it. I'm glad I did, if you want to know the truth.
What the ever-loving shit? Okay, so his excuses, remember, this is, and it draws extra attention to it. So if you don't know, Virginia Giuffre, when she was Virginia Roberts, was poached from Mar-a-Lago when she was 16 years old by Ghislaine Maxwell to go work for him, effectively both being sexually assaulted and very possibly bringing other girls in, which is what he would do. He would, it was like a cult. And so he would he would pay them to bring in other girls, and it was their way of getting out of this stuff.
They'd recruit other ones for him.
And basically buy your escape. Yeah, it was like buy your escape. It was an indentured servitude thing, and the abuse was so overwhelming that a lot of these girls did this. So fucking gross. And so that was it. His sales point, motherfucker, it drives me nuts. His sales point is that he tried to hit on this young girl at the thing. He never tells this. One of the books written about him told this story. And it was a lie, it was apocryphal, it was nonsense, but it gave him this out. That people like Glenn Beck and all this use that as cover. Like, he knew he was a creep, but he kicked him out. Took him fucking 25 years to figure it out, apparently. But still, he finally came to his senses and went, oh my dear, and kicked the guy out for poaching a young girl that was a member's daughter at the club. Again, not giving a fuck about the local poor girls and the high school students around the area. Fuck them. Just don't touch my rich members. So not a moral play. Then he brings this up, which is just fucking batshit. It drove, like, when I read this morning, like, my head almost popped off. Like, or I saw the clip this morning. The nature of this is him saying he just stole my workers. He just took people, like, he hired people away from me that,
that's what made him mad.
That's what made him mad.
That was the crime that was committed. Is that workers were hired away. Wasn't sexual enslavement, wasn't trafficking, wasn't rape, wasn't all of these various things. He did something very inappropriate. Yes, and I love it. He did something very inappropriate. You're like, yeah, you're waiting for it. And it's like, he hired my workers away.
And here's the thing. The only worker we know of this happening is Virginia Giuffre, who was a 16-year-old working in the spa for some fucking reason. I don't, like, why do you have a 16-year-old working in the locker rooms at a fucking spa?
I think we can figure it out.
And him saying, you hired my workers away from me, it sounds like, because that's the only person we know of, that like I had underage girls farming underage girls for me in the neighborhood, and he stole them to go farm underage girls for him in the neighborhood. Like that's the only connection to workers that we're aware of. Unless he's saying Ghislaine Maxwell used to work for me, and then she went, and like, is that what she's gonna fucking say? Jesus Christ!
I just know, listening to him again, it's not even the criminality, which is a whole level of. I mean, we've installed. I don't need to tell anybody this; they all know. Like, this country, we chose to put a guy in office who is a serial criminal and he's just one of the most despicable people alive. Right. But we're supposed to believe, like, he got moral about Jeffrey Epstein. He loves Kim Jong-un, loves Vladimir Putin. I mean, all sorts of people like that. But Jeffrey Epstein, that the morality of that bothered him, because he's obviously a very moral guy. And then we're also supposed to believe that originally it has to do with the fact that he was immoral, whatever. But then he's so stupid,
right?
That in the end, he ends up just the way he admits to crimes all the time, which is the thing that just is so that our media won't report these things accurately. He's the dumbest fucking fascist who's ever lived.
Ever.
Like, he makes people like Hitler and Idi Amin look brilliant, like they weren't buffoons.
Right.
And he admits criminal activity, or he admits his real motivations by mistake all the fucking time. He just did it right there, as you said. It had nothing to do with, it had nothing to do with the fact that
I didn't care. He could be creepy all he wants. Just, it's really hard to find good help.
Exactly. You want to creep on the workers? Just make it's like it's like Dirty Dancing. Just make sure you creep on the workers over there without the educations.
Yes,
don't creep on the rich girls where I might get in trouble and lose members, because that's money for me.
And I think this clip has the rest of his answer, which, just listen to one of the other part of the phrasing.
Glad I did, if you want to know the truth. And by the way, I never went to the island.
By the way, this whole, and by the way, like, nobody fucking asked. Nobody fucking asked. And the assumption is that he didn't. There's no
an admission.
Right. Listen to what he says.
And by the way, I never went to the island, and Bill Clinton went there supposedly 28 times. I never went to the island, but Larry Summers, I hear, went there. He was the head of Harvard, and many other people that are very big people. Nobody ever talks about them. I never had the privilege of going to his island.
I never had the privilege of going to his island.
That's the other thing. He doesn't know how to use words in English. He's always searching. And
this motherfucker, like, whatever. Like, okay, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I'm not doing that because of you. I realize there's a lot of back and forth here, because we're just both so. I don't know what to do with it.
Flabbergasted by it. Oh my God!
We have 3 more years of this shit. I mean, I don't know what to do with it. He's so fucking dumb. And again, that conscience of guilt. Like, he just literally, they don't ask about the island, but he throws it out there.
Yes.
He throws out random numbers all the time that are never true, because he thinks it makes something sound real. Bill Clinton went there 28 times. I'm not defending. I don't know if Bill Clinton went there. He's a sicko and should pay the same price as everybody else. The difference between me and Republicans is I don't care about party. If you touch a young girl, fuck you. Go to prison forever.
Right.
And I worked for Bill Clinton in '96, so I have a reason to be partial towards Bill, and I don't care if he did a damn thing there, if anybody did. But let's get back to the point here, which is, he thinks this is it's like every tick that Trump has comes out there. He brings up something you didn't ask him, so he did it. He throws out random names of other people, which, again, if it weren't in the realm of politics, he could be sued for slander immediately. Right. There's until there's proof that Larry Summers or Bill Clinton went there, whether if there is, then he's slandering them. And then he refers to it. He's trying to find a word that he thinks makes it sound, like
Luis Robert.
He makes him sound smart and dignified and whatever, and then comes up with the word privilege.
Luis Robert in the chat says it's called dry snitching, which is where you snitch on the person and then you warn them. That's the term. I fucking love that. I didn't even know that. I didn't either. I haven't heard that term before, and you learn something old every day. Dry
is there
snitching.
A way?
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. Oh, I was going to ask, is there a way through this program that I can see your chat?
I believe so. You should be able to see the chat.
I'm looking at comments from live viewers. I'm not seeing anything. I always love interacting with the audience. And I've always
I see. No, what I'll do is I will give
If I can't, I can't. But it's always nice to,
Yeah, what I will do is at some point, I think, and I don't know if this. Yeah, no, you'd have to log into Restream to see it.
Don't worry about it. I mean, maybe next time we can,
yes.
I'll do it. But
yeah, exactly. But you can always, if you go to the YouTube channel and pop the chat out, you can always see it there.
Oh, so I could always do that. Turn the channel down there.
Yeah, exactly.
So, turn the sound down there.
Yep.
I'm so crafty.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. So, fuck me. Like, it is so. This is amazing because here's the silver lining. May I add, for everybody watching, and for Cliff, a moment of joy, a silver lining, a piece of magic in these dark times, and it would be that, imagine, if you will, when this video broke and this little quote, "I never had the privilege of going to the island," which they will write off as sarcasm, but still, what a weird thing to say. And the whole, I kicked him out because he was hiring the staff away. Imagine being Glenn Beck and everybody at the Blase today. Imagine being Benny Thompson. Imagine being anybody who's been running interference for him with this bullshit apocryphal story that he was farming girls from Mar-a-Lago and he was like, get out, and he was a creep. That anybody who sold the creep story, Trump just, like the ghost of Trump, just walked in and popped their fucking balloon and walked out of the room. And it's so goddamn glorious that honest to God, because their heads are exploding this morning. You know it. You know they saw this.
That's the thing, is like, they can't lie for him. I mean, they do anyhow, because he always gives up the game because he's too stupid not to. It's like, if you've seen that video where he's standing there with Jerome Powell, and Powell's like criticizing, like pointing out that he's lying about it. He takes out a paper. He's like, well, it says here $3.1 billion. And the guy's like, yeah, that building was built 5 years ago. And it's like the classic in real time, and again, pattern of behavior. This is what he does every time. Just, he never he lies about everything. And it's just and he's too stupid to even come up with good lies.
Yeah, so just the word privilege alone, besides the fact that he totally deflated this bullshit story that he's been like floating on for years. He literally, that is, amongst the MAGA faithful, that's the thing that's kept him afloat this time. The idea that he kicked Epstein out for being a creep. Now, it seems to bother them that this motherfucker in an interview said he likes girls on the younger side, and that he said his own floor for having sex with somebody was 12 in an interview with Howard Stern. Like that, he called his own.
He said, "You can call my daughter a piece of ass."
Right.
He admitted he loved being the owner of beauty pageants because he could sneak into when the 15 and 16-year-old girls are changing and peek in on them. I mean, Katie Johnson's lawsuit. Like, there's so many examples of this man being, again, there's too much.
But they've always memory hold it. Up till now, they have always memory hold it. And the way they did it, the exact methodology for them to put this aside was this bullshit story, right? That he that he kicked Epstein out because he was hitting on a young girl at the club, and he saw it and he was enraged and was like, how dare you, she's underage, or just nonsense, just a farce. But it's how they got through it. It's how they told themselves that the other things were a lie, because he kicked him out for being a creep. This has done the thing. That was the myth that was like just tenuously holding the whole fucking thing together, right?
Right, and this is why I lose my shit and I get so pissed off and spend a bunch of time at my Substack and on YouTube, whatever, ripping the crap out of out of corporate media, because in the end, it's not just the firing of people like Colbert and the payoffs by ABC or whatever, Disney and Paramount, and all the conflicts of interest and all the stuff like that. It's that they report these things in and of themselves, end the story there, and provide zero context. So that people can say, oh, well, Donald Trump said he fired him for that reason. Well, maybe that's true. And that's why all these people in the middle, not MAGA nuts, but also not us, but people are sort of maybe center right, maybe center, whatever, trying to decide which side to believe. And there's a wealth of disinformation out there. And our corporate media fucking sucks, because if they were doing their job, there'd be a paragraph after that saying, after saying Donald Trump said it was because of his behavior, though, in the past, Donald Trump has said this. In the past, Donald Trump admitted to sneaking into beauty pageants. He let Howard Stern call his daughter a piece of ass, blah, 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 because people need context to understand who is telling the truth.
I will say,
and that is what our media refuses to do.
Well, I will say, I believe it was the New York Times that has started putting in the real estate deal chunk, that's why they stopped talking in every story that brings up the past relationship. They put in this whole thing that, it is said that they broke up over a real estate deal, even after he lies and says it was because of this. He kicked him out for being a creep. People around Trump have argued for a long time that they broke up because of this real estate deal, which, by the way, was that house that he bought and sold to that Russian dude for $90 million that the dude fucking, I guess he bulldozed it and never built anything on the property. Insofar as I know.
Oh, because I
that
the Mar-a-Lago one was one with a Russian dude too, where the guy overpaid. What was it? Did Trump bought? I don't even remember. But
he underpaid for it.
That's what it was, right? He underpaid by like 20 or 30 million or whatever. I mean,
right. But even then, it's so stupid. But the property that they were arguing over was that piece of property that Trump sold to that Russian dude who for $90 million. He bought it for 40, sold it for 90. It wasn't worth anywhere near that. They bulldozed the property, and I think the Magnitsky Act stuff came into play, and the guy wasn't able to continue building on it. Which also leads up to Don Jr. meeting with this woman about repealing the Magnitsky Act in the beginning of the first Trump presidency. They weren't able to do it because of quote unquote Russiagate, because there was too much scrutiny going on. But if there wasn't, if the Mueller investigation hadn't happened and all this stuff, they'd have broomed the fucking Magnitsky Act years ago. They would have done everything they could to so that his buddy who bought this fucking property could have built on it and continued to do this grift of like, you buy a cheap property, I'll buy it for double, and then I'll hide my money in the United States.
I'll sit on it, launder some money. Right.
Yes.
These are the things where no context is ever provided.
Oh my God.
By media. If somebody has done the same thing, if somebody has committed an act, whatever it may be, whether it's young women, whether it's money laundering, whatever it might be, if they have done this numerous times and been caught or made statements to the effect of admitting it, and you tell a story about somebody doing this one time and they deny it, and you don't include that context of their having admitted it in the past or having done something, where then you're not doing your job. And that's why nobody knows the truth. And that's why so many people who don't pay attention to politics closely never fully understand what a horrific beast this person is.
Well, I do think they are going to, because unlike the other scandals, this one has all the makings of all the true crime shit people have been watching. Scott Peterson and fucking Bundy and all these kind of like it's got all those moving parts of a billionaire sex trafficking group or whatever run by a shady dude
suicide or not suicide.
Yes, who may all those things are perfectly key, are tuned to this modern true crime fixation that's going on. Even if Trump wasn't part of this, it would still eat up a lot. As a matter of fact, I think it would arguably eat up more, because you wouldn't have some of the press stiff-arming it on purpose, like Fox News and others. They would talk about it.
I think you're absolutely right. I mean,
because it's about
sensationalism of all of it.
Even Fox News would give a shit because it's white girls in West Palm Beach that were being victimized by a Jew. So believe me, talk about red meat being thrown to the base, right? Oh, my God.
I mean, hell, and the Wall Street Journal is reported on it enough. part of the Fox universe enough that Trump's suing them. So who knows? Maybe Fox will get pissed and start doing it more.
So okay, so the other defense, the other thing he's been using lately is well, Bill Clinton's in there and Larry Summers is in there. And, look at my, and I'll bring up Obama so that my idiot followers will think that he's in there, even though it's a totally different bullshit made up scandal for him, right? That's the idea, that just throw his name around in it. And eventually, it's like that, I think it was in Brain Candy, the Kids in the Hall movie, where, like somebody runs by and goes, what's happening? We're being bought by the Japanese or whatever. And then somebody else runs up and goes, what's happening? Like, our CEO's been shot. And then somebody just runs in and goes, everybody, I just heard the Japanese have been shot. Right. So like, it's that kind of stupid where like he's trying to include this in. So his own followers will go, Obama went to the island 28 times. Like that's where they're going. Okay. First, there's two essential problems here, and check me on this, Cliff Schechter, if you will, masterful Substack that you have. Everyone should check out. Work with me on this. So,
sure.
Everybody should. This is according to Trump. Everybody should look at Clinton going to the island and the stuff there, and Larry Summers, the former president of Harvard, going to the island or hanging out with him or whatever. I don't know what his like. He doesn't. He just says hanging around with him or something. And the hedge fund guys, which he just made up out of there. And he says, which is new, him saying the hedge fund guys, whatever the fuck that is, right? He just threw that in there. Like there's a list of names and names we wouldn't know, but they're all hedge fund guys that Pam Bondi told him, and he let that slip, but whatever. Okay. And you should pay attention to all those things. And then get in a fucking time machine and go back about a month to Pam Bondi and Kash Patel and Bongholio putting out an unsigned memo from the DOJ that says, nah, there are no other co-conspirators. Nobody was involved. Like it's, there's nothing to see here. There's nobody else we could even charge with stuff. There's no evidence of a crime beyond what he did. And we're not even sure Ghislaine Maxwell is guilty in this situation. Right. And then this motherfucker is bringing up all this shit.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
If it's true, I mean, let's be honest here. This is what we would call the opposite of Merrick Garland. See no evil, hear no evil.
Yes. Even though there's lots of evil
institutions, even if it brings down democracy within a year, we're gonna, this is the opposite end of where can we find anything to make up to prosecute whoever it is we want to prosecute for Trump. A completely politicized DOJ. So you're telling me that if Larry Summers and Bill Clinton are all over the place in there, they're not prosecuting them? Give me a freaking break. That they already would have, the indictments would already be out there.
Yeah.
The point is whatever is in there, and there may be stuff in there. I'm not saying there isn't anything about Bill Clinton or Larry Summers, but whatever it is, it's not definitive proof enough for them to think they have any shot, or they would be out there doing it because they're out there making up crap about Obama.
How about this? I'm gonna float this.
Standing in court.
I'm gonna float this for you. I'm gonna put this out there. You play with it a little bit. Send it right back if you think it's wrong. I'm gonna lay this on the deck. The only witness besides the dead Jeffrey Epstein and the untrustworthy Ghislaine Maxwell and perhaps the victim who may not even be on this earth anymore of that, sexual predation was Donald Trump his fucking self. And he was there and a participant. And the only person they could bring that said, I saw that man, Bill Clinton and Larry Summers doing it. I had to move the girl that was on my lap aside, but I saw it, right? Like that's...
I didn't have a great view because
he's the only fucking witness because he was there too.
One of them. Yeah. No,
son of a bitch.
I didn't think of that. That's an outstanding point. I mean, it's that it may be that he wants
we
to
have an eyewitness. It's you, sir. Ah, shit. Like, oh my God. And this motherfucker. I can't. And can you imagine? Okay,
and all the other people we've heard about too, right? Les Wexner and Ehud Barak and a whole long list of big names we know about.
Trump was there taking notes as best he could in his wet pants while topless underage girls were laughing at his crotch. There are, and here's the thing, the other thing. Look, I don't want to burst anybody's bubble. It isn't about Donald Trump being on any list. There are pictures. There is video. More than likely, there are audio recordings. There are more flight logs. There are Trump's fucking flight logs. There are notes. Here's what I'll tell you. I guarantee.
The FAA, if they haven't completely emptied it out yet, tends to have some of these records when it comes to planes flying from one place to another.
Not private. Okay, there are no rules about how long you have to keep passenger lists on a flight log on a private plane. There are none.
Ah, okay.
So
damn it!
Trump
I guess I just haven't reached that level of wealth where I.
No, as a training pilot myself, I will tell you. And I asked around. It was a curious question for my instructor, but I needed to know this. You don't have to keep records of the people on that flight after you arrive. You can tear it up because it's about the crash. Who was on the plane when it went down? If you land, nobody's fucking business from that point on. Okay. Here's what can happen though. Here's what can happen. Epstein makes an entry through Keller or through Ghislaine Maxwell. Today we flew on Donald Trump's plane to Bah. That's in there. It's in there at least once, according to that Maximum Golf thing, because they caught a plane, right? And it was Trump was annoyed that Epstein was late. You don't be late to other people's planes, is what he told him. And here comes Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, and a girl of undetermined age. We still don't know who she is. That's got to be a question. Somebody asked. In the Maximum Golf interview that you gave where Jeffrey Epstein flew on your plane, there was a girl on that plane. Is there any record of who she was and how old she was? Right. Because the writer said she thought that she was Epstein's niece. He doesn't have a niece. Not that age, anyways, that we know of.
There's something else out there that again, you may not. I'm gonna get all a few good men on you, right? Yeah. We've got the two airmen who were there. You can't just make a plane disappear, can you? So you may not know if you remember that scene in the court at the end where they're trying to prove that this guy had been sent off the base. Yes, right, and they're trying to prove that this guy had been sent off, whether he'd been sent off base or not. So I guess my question then would be, you may not have to keep those records on the plane, but my guess is, and I could be wrong about this, there'd be records that a plane took off and a plane landed on Epstein Island, and you might then go and look at records, those with records at the Trump organization and be like, he wasn't here those 5 days. I wonder, it's amazing. The exact 5 days that plane took off and landed at Epstein Island, Trump was away. What a coincidence. Like, I would bet also, if you're... Right, go ahead.
Yeah, that's also why you would see him saying, I'm not in these records, or they put things in there that's fake, but still not show them. Because if they put stuff in that was fake and you have an alibi, you've got proof that somebody manipulated the files to put you in there. Yep. Also, I don't know why the fuck they would put shit in about him and not take out the shit about Bill Clinton at the same time if they're doing it. And if they put stuff in about him, why they wouldn't use it. You can't say, they could have used this stuff. If there was anything in there, like, motherfucker, you said they put stuff in there. It's so dumb. Right. It's like painfully fucking dumb. Like, this would be, I gotta tell you, trial of the century right here. This is one of those situations where if a survivor law allowed somebody to bring a case against Donald Trump after he leaves office through impeachment or incapacity because of fucking, the 25th Amendment, or because he, is voted out, whatever, and he leaves like he's supposed to. At the end of it. And right. And there's a Democrat in office next time that's like, okay, enough fucking around. Let's look into all of this stuff. I know I'm not in there. Nobody in my generation is in on this kind of shit. So fuck them. If it's Bill Clinton or Bill Gates or anybody, we can start from scratch. We got enough people of decent caliber with money floating around. Like, we've got some of the people that are on Shark Tank or whatever, they can be our, the rich dipshits that we, benefactors that replace these people in the zeitgeist currently. If we even need people like that, fuck it. That's what's going to happen next. There's this kind of a necessary comeuppance is going to come, as part of this. But if there was ever a trial where he was, he had to sit down and answer this on cross-examination, it would be singularly the most disgusting / hilarious testimony in the history of Earth. It would be all the Turnberry and all the fucking rando shit that he's talked about under oath. Like with the flop sweat of perjury hanging over his head. If he can even understand it. Yes.
I mean, again, just go ahead, fling all the bullshit, but let's have you do it now after taking the oath. Let's see where that goes.
Right.
And you're right. He may at this point be too far gone to really even understand that. So maybe he'd perjure himself a bunch of times, which I'd be just fine with.
So
ends up ridding us of him.
Right. So somebody just brought up that what was it? David Copperfield is in the files and all that kind of stuff. He was on the list of whatever. Okay. Copperfield is a well-known creep who, with his own shit, that he, like his own private property in South America that he was allegedly assaulting women, right? Down there, right? And then he's in that look of the year thing from 91, that it isn't just Epstein. That's the other thing. It isn't just Epstein.
Oh, no.
It's fucking Casablancas. It's fucking Les Wexner. It's, there's plenty of fucking creeps. Sean Hannity. Yeah, whatever. There's all sorts of different grades of creep, right? Who apparently, we don't know why, but apparently Sean Hannity needed Michael Cohen's legal protection. He was client number 3. And Michael Cohen can't say, right? But Copperfield would bring apparently women down to South America, and there was all that. Remember that story about him, like being sexually predacious? He managed to dodge it and just kind of go under the radar, like no more specials, just his Vegas show. He's just parked here making money. It feels
like there was that period of time where so much was coming out on so many of these men.
Yes.
It's like it was almost hard to keep track of. There's just so many of these scumbags out there.
Right.
I mean, I shouldn't even laugh. It's just
yeah. So for those that don't know, let's see if I can bring this up or whatever. Magician David Copperfield accused of sexual misconduct by multiple women. A total of 16 women have accused Copperfield of sexual misconduct and inappropriate behavior spanning decades. More than a half said that they were teenagers at the time. Copperfield's lawyers said the allegations are not only completely false, but entirely implausible. No, they're not. Because you were hanging out with Donald Trump.
What's implausible about it?
Nothing's implausible. By the way, nothing's implausible on its face if you have the idea that, like, that's ridiculous. A rich guy with a mysterious background and private property that in South America that nobody can go to, that flies people down there. Right. Like, get the fuck out of here.
You got one or two things going on, all right? You're either taking women down to do horrible things or you're Jim Jones too. All right?
Yes,
that's the only reason why you're doing that shit.
Yeah.
Either way, it's a cult.
Yeah, this is Brittany Lewis. She claimed that he drugged and sexually assaulted her in 1988 when she was 17 years old. And when she was a model, when she was a 17-year-old model. Again, this is stuff that, like, it all fits. He was, and then after that, after that time,
they go to these modeling shows and like find these young women.
Right.
Ugh, it's repulsive.
And he's in that video with Trump in 91, and they're whispering, you've seen the footage of it. They're like, hey, what about her? Like, it doesn't look like, do you think she's a winner? It's like, do you think she's dopey enough to get on a private plane? Like, that seems like how they're talking about them. Like, and again, in the context of this. So no, it's not fucking implausible. It's 100% plausible because you're hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein's best friend, his wingman. Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein were thick as thieves then, and you're buddy with him and judging a model contest. Sorry, it goes from 0 to plausible in a second. You got a lot of cover to lay down.
It's plausible plus is really what it is, if we're being honest here. And again, there's this whole group of them around each other, and you'd see them together in the media. So I lived in New York then, right?
Right.
And you would see them in the media at various sort of entertainment venues, Yankees games, whatever it might be. As I'm wearing a Yankees cap, so now I feel like shit.
Mm-hmm.
But in any case, it was like, and I'm not making this accusation. He just used to hang out with these guys, but it would be like Donald Trump, Bill O'Reilly. I think we know what that guy was up to.
Right.
I often, and it always made me never want to watch or never watch the guy's show because or whatever. Regis Philbin was often with them. I have no idea if that dude did any bad shit or not, but he was hanging around with Trump and O'Reilly and that crew, like and Giuliani. Like, you know, these guys were like, they were as thick as thieves. They would go to everywhere together. This sort of group of like just disgusting men, all of whom, ugh. And look where, again, Regis is the only one I can't say that I know I've ever heard anything or know anything. The rest of them speaks for itself.
So Liz Weil was the woman that Bill O'Reilly had to pay $32 million plus to keep basically to buy her silence. To buy her into an NDA cost $32 million.
Unbelievable.
What the fuck? Like, think about what people like.
Think about what he must have done, honestly.
Right.
For that to, yeah.
Right. And then that was, by the way, the largest of the settlements that both he and Fox News paid out over the years to people. There was another one, like $9 million, another, I think one was $3 million, if I'm not mistaken, but like they were covering it, like ratcheted up over time. Didn't learn his fucking lesson. Absolutely grotesque. The news reports from 2017 reveal that Bill O'Reilly paid a $32 million settlement to resolve a sexual harassment claim brought by former Fox News legal analyst Liz Weil. This settlement occurred in January of 2017. Right when Trump took office, just before Fox renewed his contract for an annual salary of $25 million. He paid her in that year more than he made in a year. Now, he'd been making that for a long time.
But the point is that to them, again, doesn't matter, right? He just paid her $32 million. It's like, all right, let's re-up him at $25 a year. That's out of the way. And again, you wanted to be like, A, you guys are immoral pieces of shit. But
the publicly known tally for Bill O'Reilly's sexual harassment and assault claims against him is $45 million. That motherfucker has settled $45 million worth of payouts with NDAs attached, so they can't talk about what happened. $45 million. What the fuck do you have to do? Because I got to tell you, like, even if I couldn't prove where I was at the time, if I was accused of sexual assault by somebody, I would fight it to the end. And I would do it in a way, as best I could, that did not vilify victims of sexual assault. As a matter of fact, I would play up the fact that, like, people who accuse people wrongly, make it harder for people to come forward because ultimately, their case gets thrown out, just like this one will be. There's ways to do it.
And it happens, and this was my only issue when the Me Too stuff was going on.
Right.
Which is, I always err on the side of believing women because obviously vast majority of women, almost any woman, why would you make that up?
Right.
And we've been covering that crap up for years. But I also know, I was on the board of the Ohio Innocence Project, for 8 years here. We had a case of a former NFL player. He really only became an NFL player after he spent a couple years in prison because somebody did make something up about him. And he got released and was smart enough to bring a recording device along. And she admitted it. She's like, I just wanted your attention. And blah, blah. And so it does happen. And those few times it happens and it's not true, you're right. It undermines the vast majority of these cases. And even if I gotta say that better that than to allow for yourself and your children and stuff to have this hanging over that you settled a sexual assault claim if you were innocent, like, because it doesn't just sit on you. No, I would never. Right, I'd do the same thing. I mean, I'm sorry, but money is whatever. Money is money. None of that is worth it to me. What's worth it to me is my integrity. And if somebody accused me of something I didn't do, I mean, that's always how I judge some of these folks and whether I think they're really innocent or not. Because if you're really innocent, what kind of person are you if you wouldn't fight that to the end of the earth to prove that somebody is lying about you?
Absolutely. Yeah. And again, there are, there are power dynamics in, that they always talk about in like places of work and other kind of stuff where women are afraid to come forward and stuff. And that is absolutely a reality. But when it comes to the presidency, people are afraid for their lives. So if they come forward even temporarily in that circumstance, you have to take that more seriously. And those folks, have a responsibility, again, to clear that deck even more. They can't just buy it, just NDA it and go away. If you're going to run for public office and you're going to, this is going to be part of your record, then you've got to stand out. You got to go, you know what, I'm running for, that's why I think NDAs, if you're running for office and you have anything other than a business proprietary NDA in your past, you got to cut them loose. Like if you know the formula for Coca-Cola or something like that, then you got to keep that, or you know what I mean, or you get Marvel scripts ahead of time. Like those things you have to, you sign NDAs. Like if I audition for a Marvel film, which I have in the past, like you sign an NDA. Like when I did Spider-Man, I had an NDA for the movie, through the production and the release of the film, right? So that's fine. But if you have one with an individual human being over, bad behavior, let's just say, of any sort, tear it up. If you want to run for office...
I'll tell you actually a funny one, just because we've had all this, had to talk about terrible stuff. So I was lucky enough through, work I did to get to know Mark Hamill relatively well. And back in 2016, before Trump, in that summer, he invited me to bring my they were then little kids, they're not so little anymore, when they were filming The Last Jedi, the second one, over to London to the studio, which is just the most amazing thing, right? I was like, are you sure? Me? And so I brought my kids, we went to London, and a thing I still will always remember this. They made he's now 15, my then 6-year-old Luke, sign an NDA. I'm like, is that even legal? Like, we had to all sign these NDAs because then they took us to the studio and we saw all these scenes that they had set up. And I'm like, Luke, this is Disney. Do not go back and tell your what grade would he have been in? 3rd, 4th, 5th grade? Like, don't go back and tell your friends about this because, or actually 1st or 2nd grade, right? We're going to go to Disney will take our house. I was like, is what's going to happen? My 6-year-old and my 9-year-old, of course, and the both of us had to sign NDAs. They took our phones away. And so there's a funny case of where that happens. That was a legit NDA. I get why they didn't want us coming home and spoiling the plot. If we saw anything that we weren't supposed to see or where we could put something together, you know, by seeing some stuff ahead of time. That's stuff. But that's not like
it's wholly different. And and nobody cares. Nobody cares. If you have a business-related NDA related to, proprietary business secrets or your, the accounting of a thing or whatever it is, as long as there's no crime involved, that anybody has put forward. If you're just almost to some degree go like, if you were a board member on Enron for a period of time and you weren't charged, but you had an NDA and you can't talk about it because that's how business rules work. I almost don't have a problem with that unless you're subpoenaed and they're able to break it, which they would be able to do. But if you have a personal one with somebody, unless it would hurt your children for information to come out about their birth parent or something like that, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like those kind of things where it was a divorce related or something like that. I can imagine the situation where you'd go, we sealed all of our stuff. Excellent. Richard Chu is joining us in a second. And I'm going to, there he is. I see him in the background. Richard Chu, we'll bring you on in just 1 minute, sir. But Cliff Schechter, by the way, I want to remind everybody, you have a fascinating and terrific Substack called Blue Amp. It's at Cliff's Edge.
Blueamp.co. You can get there.
Blueamp.co will take you there. If you're on Substack, you can go to @Cliff's Edge, no underscore, just all run together. Subscribe, and it's a great thing, and I'm just going to leave it there. Thank you for helping me wade through this particular kind of insanity this morning.
It only gets stupider. It only gets worse and more horrible. It's funny. You said something. I'll end it with this. You said something earlier in the show about even when I thought Donald Trump I think you said something like this, had done the stupidest thing, there's more. And that's the thing that you learn continually, because all of us who basically spend our lives around at least semi-normal people know that usually there's a bottom to stupidity, to depravity, to sickness, to evil, to. But the one thing that you just need to know with someone like him is there is no bottom to any of that. It can
Right.
always get dumber. It can always get crueler. It can always get more corrupt. Like, and that's what we've learned throughout this entire time. I mean, it just to expect the worst, you know.
Yeah.
And I can't even believe, as horrible as this Epstein stuff is, that it's going to end here, because there's always something worse with Trump.
Right.
Always.
Yeah. Well, Cliff, appreciate it, brother. Look forward to seeing you next time whenever you're available. I know you're a busy guy, and people should subscribe to the Substack. Appreciate you, brother, and I will see you again soon.
You're awesome. Thank you for having me on. I'm glad we can work it out, man.
Absolutely. All right. Cheers. There he goes. Ladies and gentlemen, the Cliff Schechter. And I'm going to bring in just 1 second, our dear friend Richard Chu from Chicago, and my fellow bandmate from WCPT. Let's see if I can frame you up a little bit on my side before I bring you in, because it's got to be aesthetically pleasing. It's part of my rule in this general belief system. There we go. There we go. Yeah, do this, and here we go. We'll move this over here, and excellent. Okay, perfect. Let me bring him in. Ladies and gentlemen, if I may, the great Richard Chu joining us from Chicago. From Chu's Views and WCPT. We got to hang out at the 20th anniversary for WCPT. And we've spoken before, kind of in passing, and a couple of things, or whatever. But we didn't get to really talk in depth until that day, and it just was fantastic. Definitely sharing brain pan on a lot of these kind of things. And so, good morning. How are you? Happy Monday. Oh my God, the stuff that's coming out. So,
hey Hal, good to see you, man. Glad you're well.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. We had we met each other at a couple of Stephanie Miller Sexy Liberal Tour events, in fact, and high-fived each other, dapped each other up, and gave each other the nod.
Yeah.
And the brothers nod, and
yes.
Right, and then just over time we kind of communicated, and then I started my new show in beginning of February of 2024. So just kind of our frequency of hearing about each other became more regular.
Yeah.
And the anniversary was great. It was so cool that you were able to be there. And then a couple of weeks ago, we were able to do your live event up at Max and Benny's. So that was cool. But man, what Cliff just said I remember saying this or thinking this last summer before, during the Joe Biden stepping down and Kamala stepping up. I remember saying to myself, no matter who wins as a Democrat, I'm so looking forward to just being able to chill out, doing what we have to do in the place that we're in and the work that we're doing. But I kept thinking it'll be nice to have someone in place, have someone in office, and other leaders that I could, at this tender age of 63, take a deep breath and go, oh man, okay, they're getting stuff done. It's not perfect, but they're working their tails off. We're going to keep encouraging them. And now, and I was thinking about that for other people who are older than me and people that are younger than me and all the rest, that we'd be able to take a deep breath. We'd have a major woo-saw moment.
Yeah.
And we could get some stuff done. And now that's not happening. And every day it's a daily, dropping of what every single day. And I was watching earlier a little bit of MSNBC, this Europe or this EU deal situation, and this conversation around Japan and just everything that's going on right now. And I just went, first of all, most of what this deal is about is a handshake, and it's BS.
Right.
And the European leaders, let's be honest, how the European leaders, they've got billionaires, they've got smart men and women, they've got people that went to school, multiple levels of education, lots of experience, and are good negotiators as well. And they also know how to play a fool. and they know how to, I mean, I say play a fool, not be one, but how to play a person as their fool.
Right.
And these deals that are just been thrown out, first of all, we know they're a distraction from, EF, also known as Epstein files.
Yeah.
But it's also, they're not deals that have any real depth to them or any substance to them. They're just, again, Donald being out there saying, we made a deal, his old routine, distraction, delay, and dumbassness. And
yeah, right.
Where I just made that up in the moment.
I like it. Distract, delay, be a dumbass. Like, it totally makes sense. Yeah.
That's where we are, brother. And it's painful. This is the thing. This is why you and I have to maintain doing what we're doing. And Cliff preceding me. Mm-hmm. We're blessed to have each other to be able to talk about this stuff and to be able to work on things that may actually impact some of the people that we get to interview in terms of political leaders and all that. So we're blessed to have each other. I feel for the folks, going back to what I said earlier about have this being a time where we'd be able to kind of cool out and work a little bit differently in this space. And
let
so
government be boring again, right?
Government, be boring, But I feel for the folks who are impacted by this daily.
Yeah,
maybe you and I are, and they look like you and me. It's black folks, it's white folks, it's folks from rural, it's folks from suburban, it's folks from urban that don't have this network that we have. And that's why I'm so thankful that we do have it.
Yes. Well, and again, I wish it put our skills to work more often, because I love being wonky about the nerdy aspects of legislation and that kind of stuff. So how I got started on Steph's show was talking about the inner workings of the ACA, for example. Mm-hmm. And I love that stuff, and I love how it matters and how the details of a bill matter, because one of the reasons I've argued for a long time is one of the reasons why Republicans like small bills with very little language is because they love loopholes. And it's easier to create loopholes if you're not battening down the hatches. A big, thick bill means you've got all the holes in it spackled shut. You're like, well, if somebody tries this, this will stop it. And if somebody tries this will stop it. Because they know the Donald Trumps of the world will, try to find their way around the law, right? They will always do this. And so you have to put this stuff in the bill. It's why we don't have the 10 Commandments anymore. It's why thou shalt not kill won't cover it. It's why we got first degree murder and second degree murder and depraved indifference and manslaughter and second degree manslaughter and third degree second degree murder and really like all these bifurcations. And the reason is because somebody over time found a way to weasel around it and going, well, Your Honor, it says thou shalt not kill, but what, are we supposed to let ourselves get killed? Well, I guess not, or whatever. Well, how can we prove that you were actually trying to protect yourself because the other guy's dead right now? So, you need a certain level of evidence to prove that he was, that I meant malice. Or, okay, so malice aforethought is now a part of, okay, so we don't just have...
into intent, and oh my God, then intent becomes a whole different part of the layering of how we legislate law.
Yes.
And I love your point about how the bills, they're also built. They're also built for people who don't spend time reading and reviewing and analyzing, or just paying loose attention. It's built for their, level of reading efficiency.
Sure.
And comprehension efficiency.
Right, sure. So Democrats can stand to read it and they can put the time in. We've got, Katie and AOC and others who are not averse to actually reading the text of things, whereas Republicans are like, too many words, pass, right?
And the same applies for the constituents that they have, because they want that bill. And I can appreciate simplicity, but not to the point of being reckless. And they want the bills to be, it's just going to have these 3 things in it and you're going to be fine. And people go, oh, great. But in actuality, the 3 things is 300 things.
Yes.
And you're not going to be fine. But they don't want the bills to be reviewed that way. Which is why they told everybody with Project 2025 after it was really outed. And thank God for, Taraji P. Henson for, her breaking it down at the BET Awards. But after it really became oh my God moments midsummer, early summer last year. And people were like, but it's 900 plus pages. I got to read all that.
Right.
That was the Republicans' way of creating. If you think about it, they want the bills to be very, very watered down. But Project 2025 was very, very, very detailed and illustrative because they knew that their people weren't going to read it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I, it's fascinating to me that like whatever Trump is trying to do, there is an area where Maggot Central will dive into details, and that is the 8 to 15% of the Maggot faithful that showed up for his election multiple times that will never leave him in that regard. They're all tried and true QAnons, and as much as their bizarre inability to comprehend reality is something we're going to have to collectively deal with. These people, all of them, these people don't mind reading a bunch of stuff and connecting dots, even if Trump doesn't want them to connect the dots, even if they don't want to connect the dots, and that's I think where he's running into problems, and why the Epstein thing has legs and is important, I think, as a news story beyond just the fact that women were victimized. Young girls were victimized, and Trump either knew, participated, or turned a blind eye to it for decades, which is important and of itself should have been a scandal that disqualified him well before he even thought of running.
Right.
What the value of it is that it does, in one instance, trigger his followers' desire to study information, and it like intersects with their need to like follow the money and connect the dots. And unfortunately, no matter what he does, he's a bunch of the dots. He's not just one dot. He's in there multiple times. There are multiple connections with people around Epstein and Epstein himself that make these. I just feel like, and I don't know. I'd love your opinion on this. Is this the thing that makes them go, all right, if this is all, this has to be bullshit because I know too much about this to hide from it, right? And by the way, we're talking to Richard Chu from Chu's Views on Chicago's WCPT AM radio, my dear friend from Chicago's Progressive Talk, mornings on weekdays. That is this the detail that if they can't let go of this, maybe there's something funky with the rest of what he's saying. Maybe the rest of his lies become harder to stomach. The EU deal, because these people also, by the way, think that the G7 and the G20 and the are a big Illuminati gathering where they all drink, put a straw in a baby's head and walk around drinking their spine juice to stay young forever, even though they all age like fucking lettuce on a windowsill. I don't understand this at all. Apparently Hillary Clinton was drinking adrenochrome all this time, and she's aging heavier than other women. Like she's right in line with or slightly ahead of the aging of other women in her age group. What, is she drinking adrenochrome, but she's got Parkinson's at the same time and can't get into a van and all this stuff? I'm like, I thought, then why would you? Maybe it's the adrenochrome, right?
And if she's at the tip of the spear of this, you would have thought that she got the good because if she's right, she would have gotten the first batch, the best, least diluted of all of the chemical. It's just insane, and the fact that. This is what's hilarious. This is why I love rolling with you so much. Is because to be able to put some sort of humor into this is almost necessary. It's almost a prescription that we have to have. And one of the things that when you were saying this about the Epstein details, if you will, being something that's drawn MAGA into looking at it, as I thought about what popped into my head is sort of, they know that this is potentially a whack-a-mole situation, right? Meaning that the Trump people, those around him, know that because every time something gets batted down that might be perceived or have been perceived as something that wasn't accurate or truthful or whatever about this whole situation with the files, something else pops up. And then another other thing pops up, and I said this last week on my show. I said that Trump knows he's got to be very, very careful right now with the Wall Street Journal, because what he doesn't know is how much information they have. And they have something on their side that he doesn't have, and that's time. They can drip an article or a story, or hell, even a video every day if they want. Let's assume that they had that much information. Mm-hmm. And if he knows what's in that potential information in the real files, and if they had any kind of indirect access to it, that they could drip on him, daily or weekly. And so that's, in my mind, the whack-a-mole piece, is that they don't know what's going to pop up next.
Yes.
So they are constant. That's why all of this, let's indict Barack Obama. Let's bring Hillary and Bill in. Let's do all these things. So we know it's distraction, but they've got, every time something else pops out, or every time somebody else speaks up in this last, let's call it, month's time, or every time there's a Pam Bondi mess up, then they've got to use another thing in their toolkit to go after somebody else. And that is their big fear right now. They don't know how much information is releasable from the Wall Street Journal. And they're on defense in this space because they know that the Trump MAGA folk, and even the smart folks in the GOP, if there's those that do exist, he knows, and the people most immediately around him, they know that at some point they are going to connect those dots, like you said a moment ago.
So I'll give you an example of how how this is going to happen. I'm going to set this up because one of the names that is conspicuously missing from Donald Trump bringing people up is Bill Gates. And the right wing has been up Bill Gates' ass forever because he's a monster who manipulates the weather and wants to depopulate the earth. All the things, by the way, Peter Thiel openly talks about, J.D. Vance's handler, yammers about this shit on podcasts. Bill Gates is apparently secretly doing behind the scenes. Like, I give a fuck. If somebody's talking about it behind the scenes, they have obviously felt like if they even periscope these ideas, they're getting wiped out. Meanwhile, Peter Thiel's talking openly about, I just think, basically half the Earth's population's got to go, and it's totally fine with it. And it ain't people who don't look like me. That's what Peter Thiel is also saying.
And if they do look like you, they look like you, but they want to connect and partner and work with those that look like me. So keep going, man.
Yeah, exactly. So and this is right. Anybody who's open to the humanity of their fellow humans, God forbid. So, but Bill Gates is one of the names that just doesn't come up. Okay. Yep. So one of the things about Ghislaine Maxwell being interviewed recently is, and this is kind of a show you where these folks are a dog with a bone and they cannot let it go. And that is another train that has left the station on the same track as Trump's, and they're gonna hit. No matter what you do, shit's gonna collide because they're on the same track. There's no diverting it. Okay, here's the idea. This is TPV Sean or some asshole on Shitter, but Ghislaine Maxwell drops bomb. Bill Gates cloned thousands of babies on Epstein Island. Ever since Epstein case roared back in the headlines, Bill Gates has been unusually quiet, keeping his head down while the world scrambles to catch up with what we've been reporting for years. Whoever this asshole is he's not, this isn't even like the low-end QAnon Friends of Roseanne crowd. This dude's on all the time. Epstein's network wasn't just about trafficking, it was about eugenics, depopulation, and the enslavement of the human race. Last week, Ghislaine Maxwell broke her silence from prison. She wants to testify before Congress. Then came the real bombshell, Bill Gates and the Butterfly Trust. And this is the idea that they were making, all the shit they were accusing Hillary Clinton of, the adrenochrome stuff, where Bill Gates is big in that, but here's the problem they have. Billionaire Bill Gates details dinner that left him impressed by President-elect Donald Trump. They've been buddies since he took power. And they were also, if Epstein went to the island and hung out with him, the idea that they weren't at dinner parties together is just fucking dumb. The only thing that would keep Bill Gates and Trump apart at these parties is that they were like Trump would just get bored with the science talk that they pretended to be having and leave early. Right? That's the thing. But this whole thing, I was frankly impressed how he showed a level of interest in the issues I brought up. Offered a rare glimpse into his dinner with him when he backed Harris, but they had dinner. I had a chance about 2 weeks ago to go have a long and actually quite intriguing dinner with him. This is going to run afoul of this. That's just how shit works. That's gonna happen. And there's no way out of it for these dipshits. There ain't.
That's so true. And let me grab the baton in this conversation about the names that are not popping up, or the people who aren't being talked about in this space. Mm-hmm. What I find really interesting is that the people that they aren't trying to go after are people that have the ability to bury Trump and bury the whole matter. Bill Gates has got that ability, and from just purely from a technological point, he has the ability to make a few phone calls and make some really uncomfortable stuff happen for Donald Trump, and we all know that. So that's the part where I think that they're being careful right now, and the Maxwell part is their way of trying to throw dirt. And I know you know this too. You said it already. Trying to throw dirt on Democrats so that they have the ability to provide cover as quickly as they can from the only person that, in their mind, would remain considered credible because she's the one that got convicted. So. I'm of the mindset that they're, again, to something I said earlier, they're being careful with going too hard in on the Wall Street Journal. Yeah, this suit is one thing, but they know, just like if they went after Gates and others that have power too, see, they're just being careful. And I don't really like to give the word careful to them because they're so reckless and chaotic. Right. But I do think that there is more than just a little bit of smoke to the fire you just talked about with the Bill Gateses of the world.
Right.
And you know what? This is the thing too. You know, you said this a bunch of times. I don't really care. Look, honestly, if Bill Clinton is on that list and Bill Gates is on that list, but what about, let's just say Tommy Tuberville is on that list, and let's just say that Peter Thiel is on that list. Or whomever. Let's just say that those four guys are on that list. I don't really care. You know why? Because none of the four of them are the current sitting president of the United States.
Right. Yeah.
And so the person that has them, Bill Clinton has aged. He's doing whatever he can do and whatnot. Gates has a few things to lose, but he's got the money to pay off whatever he's got to pay off to get through it. Peter Thiel does. Right. Tommy Tuberville probably doesn't because he's a sitting, member of Congress. Senator. But Trump's got the most to lose than anybody. There's not one person, even if Barack Obama's on that list.
Yeah.
He doesn't have as much to lose as Trump because he's not the sitting president. Now, granted, if Barack were on that list, we know that the Justice Department would then say they would focus their laser beam on him, and then try to build, some sort of organizational chart of corruption of all the other Democrats. But still, if Donald Trump is on that list and on in a very meaningful way, he has the most to lose. Yeah. And then as a result, the Republican Party has everything to lose because they bet what's it called in gambling? They bet everything on him. Yeah. And so that's kind of where I see this, is that they know that they have the most to lose with Donald Trump being not just on the list, but other things popping up about him. And one other thing I want to say about Gates. I said this to my wife a couple of days ago. I said, based on how these mugs are, that's my short MF word, even on the show. Sure. The way these mugs are, Hal, is that if they had video of all these other people, these Democrats and celebrities and all this other stuff, that they had that video, that stuff would have been released already. That would have been already out there. Why is it that the only videos that we're seeing are one with him standing and half dancing with those women and half dancing with Epstein and all this other stuff? We don't see any video.
Nope.
Well, of anybody else.
Right.
video. If they had videos of him, I mean, of other folk, they would have dropped him already. They just would have had to blow out the steam.
Well, and you even look at like the letters in the birthday book. The one from Clinton sounds like something you would get from the desk of a former president. Is kind of generic and, like lamely poetic and political. And Trump's, he drew a titty woman on it and signed his name across her crotch. So like, this is, again, that's he's afraid that the comparison will also show him to be worse. Also, yeah, that's a good point. Somebody brought up like the laptop. The Hunter Biden laptop, where is it? Where the fuck is it? Like, not only did these motherfuckers are they not releasing the Epstein files, where's this alleged laptop? Doesn't exist. I'll tell you why, because it never did.
That laptop just exploded. It's gone. It doesn't even effing exist.
They don't even talk about it anymore. Like, Hunter Biden came out and did like whatever, 2-hour interview talking about how he used to cook crack and how he made it and like why you become addicted to it. Like the most forthcoming interview about addiction I think I've ever seen.
Ever in my entire life.
Yeah.
I've gone to treatment centers and I haven't seen. And by the way, listen, people can say what they want to about Hunter Biden, but I would ride with him in a heartbeat now because he came out and he dropped it on everybody. He said, "Fuck all of you and your grandmother."
Yeah, right. Jake Tapper, everybody, like just blazing. Right.
He was not playing, man. I mean, I was just like, and a couple of times when he leaned in, and he just, I mean, it was just a total, and a bit. So all of the FUs in that, and FThems in that. What was also clearly made plain, which I thought was phenomenal, is how much of a grasp he has on the issues, how much of a grasp he has on content. This dude used to be a professor, y'all.
Yeah.
So you don't fuck with smart people, because when smart people get their head right, they're gonna come for you. And he did, and he came hard. And I was actually I was happy for him, and I was proud of him. And I got nothing with anybody sticking up for their daddy, and he did, and he came hard, real hard.
Yeah.
And
I haven't covered that on my show just because it's too long. It's like it's a couple of hours, but I recommend people watch the whole thing because it's impressive. And even by the way, I feel totally vindicated in what I told about the laptop story and about the dude who can't see 6 inches past his nose, but somehow can pick out, knows it was Hunter Biden because of his smell or some nonsense. And you're like, dude, you couldn't tell the difference if you were that kind of blind, bless his heart, the difference between Hunter Biden and Don Jr. You couldn't.
Right.
You couldn't. Like they from that distance at that level of sight, they look basically the same height, same hair and beard, like same dudes. So the idea that that they didn't know this and they managed to drop it off at the only half-blind, visually impaired, like Mac repair guy who happens to know Rudy Giuliani's lawyer, and his dad is friends with a sympathetic New York FBI agent who threw himself under the bus for Rudy Giuliani. Like, it's the dumbest. It's such like crayons and hammers, level. It's so stupid. But I want to show you something else. And somebody, by the way, this is in what you're bringing up about Gates is even more true about this gentleman. And this, again, is the thing that is going to haunt all of MAGA, no matter how much Musk pulls back or whatever. And somebody just brought up this Atlantic article where there's a big surprise about Musk in it. But that, there are two aspects of this. You're talking about like Bill Gates and don't fuck with smart people. There is believe me. I get it, and I'm sure you do too. But when it comes to Bill Gates, his attack point on Trump would be abstract. He would have to find ways in. They exist. There's a lot of computer ways to do it. It's the reason why Trump basically wrote everything on paper, tore it up, or burned it. Why he was a big fan of burning pieces of paper all the time. Why he wanted his ledgers where they could be shredded. Like he learned his lesson from Enron was no emails. Like that's what Trump learned all. And so the idea that he's in somebody else's files is scaring the shit out of him because they're both digital. video, and there's paper, and he can't get rid of it. He wants to, but he can't. But this guy, Elon Musk, when he was brought in and Doge was started, which was the modification of the basically the internet office in the White House, they just renamed it. It's nonsense. They just brought these dudes in. Is that at that point they also started putting each guy, like these different Doge guys, in all these different departments, in Treasury, in Defense, in in the FBI, and all Elon Musk has to do is call in some markers. Yeah, he's got operatives. Like this is next level, like Russia shit. He's got operatives in every aspect of Trump's administration. In the cabinet officials' office, working directly with them, between them and their subordinates. He's got people in the Oval working between, everybody between Trump and everybody except Susie Wiles.
Yeah. Who would want to get between that? But anyhow, that's another story. Every now and again, Hal, I can catch up with you with the quick humor piece. But no, man, this is
not going away.
It's not, man. Because listen, if Elon is like, hey, listen, you treated me like doo-doo in one of the cabinet meetings, and I didn't like it. I mean, I get the sense that Elon Musk can be a very vengeful person, spiteful person. Based on some things that I've read and seen and all that. And so,
ketamine's a hell of a drug.
Man, please. And my father told me, Richard, there's always somebody bigger, stronger, smarter, and faster than you are. So know what you're doing when you're doing what you're doing. He said, but always be mindful of that. And in this case, let's play that out, that Elon has had his operatives, and we know it's true, in these different departments. What we don't know is to what extent Trump has pissed him off or tried to shame him or whatever it is that he's done. And if that's the case, I mean, there's certain things that some people are going to do and not that might be considered not criminal, but maybe right up against the line. And there's things that other people aren't going to do. And let's try this on for a second. Elon saw an opportunity to keep himself, out of jail or out of testimony, whatever. And he went in and he did some things to give them an edge in the 2024 election for the House, the Senate, and the White House. Let's just say that. But what he didn't break any laws per se. He provided them with sort of the door is over there. Now y'all go through the door. I'm gonna stand back here and let y'all go through the door. So he didn't go through the door. Let's just say that that's what he did. And then in exchange for that, he said, now for me helping you understand that there's a door in that house that you can go through, here's what I want. Let's just play this out. That's what he did. But in doing that, in the back of his mind, I'm really going down this sort of what if lane.
Yeah.
What if Elon is just one of those dudes that he recognizes there's certain things that you just don't do. And one of them is you don't assault people. You don't assault girls. You don't mess with young boys, yada, yada, yada. Let's just go down that path. And his line in the sand is, oh, hell no, that's not me. I want to make money and do this other stuff. And I like my drugs and I like my thing, but I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
And let's just say because he may have been at a younger age, someone that was assaulted. So I'm going to put the prison tip on for a minute. The guys that go to prison for sexual assault, they don't make it too long, right? So let's just say that that's where Elon's brain is. Yeah. And then Trump tried to embarrass him in a cabinet meeting. And I know I'm speculating, y'all. I do. I know that. But now, to Hal's point when he posted that a moment ago, Elon's like, if you mess with me, I have access to everything.
Everything.
And I'm going to burn your house down.
Oh, and here's the other thing, too. He may still, and this goes to your point about don't fuck with smart people. I have a problem watching movies that are allegedly about or for smart people. Especially like Limitless, one of the movies where the guy takes the smart drug and he becomes super smart. And I'm like, but he can't remember to pay off the fucking bookie that he borrowed money from. Like, sorry, that apparently this drug sucks. But like, it made me so mad. I'm all in on the concept of nootropics. Let's, human evolution, whatever. That's totally fine. But if you're going to make that kind of movie like that or Lucy or something like that, she can't just go, I read everything, I know everything, I'm smart now. You're like, nope, you got to prattle, man. You got to sell me that you understand the stuff. You got to, like Rutger Hauer in Blade Runner, when he's talking about the options to survive, and he's going through the science to prove that he is born brilliant because of how he's designed. And they start arguing about how the patient gets a virus and then you're back to square one. That whole conversation shows that he understands and contemplates the information. If you leave that out, I call you full of shit. It's like people know I hate Ex Machina for the same fucking reason. Because the dude's like, no, when I get drunk, the last thing I want to talk about is science. Like, motherfucker, if you made synthetic muscle tissue, you wouldn't shut up about it. You'd have to get, like, if you got drunk, it'd be worse. You just ramble like biometrics for hours. Like, that's how your brain has to work to do that shit. It drives me crazy. Okay, so let's say what's smart. Smart is, on the one hand, planting all these operatives. The other thing that's smart is knowing when to pull the noose, when to pull the trap. Because if you do it too quick, the squirrel gets out. And so, you can be smart when you're out in the woods and develop a snare and put it in place. But if you can't handle your own nerves and pace yourself and understand, the nature of your enemy and what you're trying to accomplish and factor all these other things in, then you're not smart. You just build a box with a rope attached to it and you're starving to death still. And so there is an element of knowing when to pull the snare.
Yeah.
And that's the smart part. A lot of people can build a trap. Not a lot of people can set it and get their prey, the way they intend. That's the smart part. And I think Elon's that way. I think he's sitting there holding this string, as fucked up on ketamine and other shit as he is. He's got himself and people around him who are like, screw this dude. He's screwing us out of billions of dollars. Is like, okay, hang out, whap. And that's what Trump is worried about, because he knows Elon has access to all these files, to everything.
And the question then one has to ask is, what is it that Elon is willing to risk? And what I mean by that is, is he willing to go to jail or be brought up on charges? Is he willing to have to go through testimony? We don't know. But irrespective of that, I think that because there could be a part of him that's vindictive and smart, all this at the same time, that he may have people in place that if he goes down, or if the Trump administration were to come after him, he's got the marching orders. I mean, it's like the classic stuff that we see.
Dead man switch.
Right. He's got the ultimate dead man switch, and I believe that the Trump people know that he does.
Yeah.
And that's because they've been leaving him alone the last couple of weeks.
Oh my God. Right.
His name has come up in nothing, not a thing. They have not said a damn thing about him. He hasn't been to any meetings. They've been leaving him alone. And that tells you that he has more than just some information. He has why they did it, how they did it, and whatever it is that they actually did. So you're really onto something with regard to this Gates piece and Epstein files. But I think also with Elon,
Musk,
all the other things that he was either a part of, or he gave them direction or directives on how to do certain things that would be harmful to the country.
Right. There's a great line, I think, that sums it all up in Dirty Harry.
Man's got to know his limitations.
That line. There are a couple of things that, lines that come back to me all the time. Man's got to know his limitations is one of those ones. Like, you got to know what tools you're playing with, what your assets and your liabilities are, and that kind of stuff. And those may shift over time, right? Like, that's the thing too. And Trump doesn't realize that a bunch of shit in his asset column has switched over to his liability column overnight.
Yes, it has. And I'll cite you a comedic reference that someone said on Esther from Sanford and Son. Y'all got to be more careful.
Right. Yeah. Yes. It is amazing to me that I guess it isn't at this point. I mean, I think we're all locked into it. I think it's amazing that someone with this much of a head start can be this stupid. That's, I think, what's really amazing about this. Like, you don't have to fail like this. Like, you've got Susie Wiles picking up behind you. And Susie Wiles is dark and smart. She's evil. Like, she's messed up. Like, she and Pam Bondi worked for the Cutteries, for like, the irony. Again, this is one of those things, like, these are the two trains headed for each other. They work for Pfizer. Biggest client for Susie Wiles was Pfizer. That doesn't bother most people, except in the sort of normal business lobbying problem that we have with impact on the government and that kind of stuff. But maggots, oh my God, right? Like that, you know what I mean? Maggots are like, Pfizer? What the? Yeah, her number one client for her company. Yeah. And by the way, that company still exists. She still has a place in it. She hasn't separated herself from it. You know, she doesn't have to. She's, you know, there's...
have to.
Yeah.
There's no reason for her. There's nothing.
Pfizer has a lobbyist in the Oval.
Right.
You wonder why. Yeah. It's so glorious.
Well, you were making a point, I believe, about the stupidity that. Well, not you didn't say stupidity. You said the head start.
Yeah.
The leg up, and you still keep messing up.
Right.
And you still keep messing up. And
Can you imagine what you and I could have done with that head start in life?
Oh,
my
please, man.
God, man.
The lives we would have impacted and changed. I mean, you know, it just
absurd.
Would have been it would have been absurd. I mean, because that would have been our thing. We would have gone out, and you and I would have kept each other honest. Eric Grant, who's the host of the meeting, and I talk about this all the time. If we were in that role, we would have kept each other honest and say, look, man, we can't fuck this up. We got to do the right thing. We got to help people and know shit. And we and kick people away from us who weren't down with that, with making sure that happened. We would have been honest about that. You and I would have made sure we would have been hardcore on people that weren't down with helping people move forward in their lives across the globe, no matter what they look like, what they sound like, who they loved. That's what we would have been. And that's right now. So this is not meant to be a pivot. But this is something I want to say, because I talked a little bit about this on my show this morning. I asked the question about what we have to, I asked the audience. I said, I want you guys to call me, text me, email me, what you'd like to see the Democratic Party really be focused on right now. Okay, so one of the things that I think that has to be a part of that answer is regaining humanity, regaining a sense of balance toward our humanity, and I can only take credit for repeating it, but Mayor Brandon Johnson here in Chicago was the one that first socialized that at the 20th anniversary. And I've really been staying on that, because one of the things that has been lost, that I know that guys like you and me would be hardcore about, is reestablishing the importance of humanity. Because so many people have been demeaned. So many people have been looked down upon. So many people have been made to feel less than. Taking away their humanity. And when you take away all the things that are support mechanisms that we've had in this country, and frankly across the globe, it takes away people's humanity. And that's what's happening right now. And I would be dogged about reestablishing that with folks, and doing it with policy and legislation and some executive orders, et cetera. I'd be damned if I would allow people to keep suffering. No, I would be hurting some people's feelings very quickly before I allowed more people to suffer. And you said it earlier. One of my guests last week said it about the Epstein files. At the end of the day, what's happened is that young girls and young women were taken advantage of.
Right.
And that is the part that we can't lose sight of as we talk about all the chess piece moves that they're trying to make to put this off on somebody else and to say that Trump wasn't a part of it. It's that those young girls, their humanity was taken away from them.
Yes. And like, I got it. You know, we've always had an issue, I think, with Republicans and their, they are not capable of comprehending in some ways consent, that they believe in power for power's sake so much that they, you know, whether there's areas where it bleeds into, you know, this Epstein world kind of thing, or if it's just in terms of policy. Look, you know, we know that Democrats, the root of the party is democracy. Everybody deserves a say in their government, whether you are on the losing side or the winning side. At least you participated, and everybody got their say, and at least you know that the prevailing thought of the public is going in the direction, and that the government is responsive to that. The entire basis of the Tea Party, no taxation without representation. The essence of the programs that we have created in this country have been because human beings voted to have their tax dollars used in a way that are in line with their values, and that's what they want. And that's what democracy is all about. Republicans are for the republic. They believe in the senatorial electoral college idea, that land is more important than human beings. And that's why Trump is talking about, if you look at the map, it's all red. It's also all fucking empty. The reason, the blue areas are in select places, because that's largely where all the people are, right?
Yep.
And so it's not difficult for Democrats. Go ahead.
Where the people are is where the power is. I'm sorry, Hal.
Yes, agreed. And that's where it should be, because that's the essence of what makes America. That's I've often said that the greatest thing for me about America is that it doesn't show up on anybody's 23andMe. Mm-hmm. It's, you can be English, you can be Indian, you can be Chinese or Japanese, or even Russian or Slavic or Czech or any of those will show up. America doesn't chart. Nope. For the very reason that Bill Murray said in Stripes, we're mutts, right? Here's proof his nose is cold. Like that this is the place where humanity comes to intermingle and work out our differences, which is, by the way, why we've had we've been on the cutting edge of ugliness and the cutting edge of fixing it our entire existence. Because while we had the end of slavery and the civil rights movement and gay rights and all these kind of women's rights and suffrage and all that stuff, largely the fight of it, with rare exception, happened here. The final nail in the coffin of the awful, whatever it was, as far as the legal aspect of it, was driven in this country and should be. Like, that's what America should stand for. If you want a racially homogenous country, I got news for you. There are plenty of them. Wherever your people were from, more than likely you can go back there and it's still that way. But America isn't that. America is where we all come to recognize our co-humanity, the beauty of our fellow human that supersedes all of their inborn, natural characteristics, that goes beyond our assumptions about people's skin color, their creed, where they were from, where their people came from. This is the place where, in my way of believing, the sins of the father visiting on the child ends.
You have the ability. We all have the ability. Excuse me, to call an end to that. I used to
be renewed.
And to be renewed. Right. I used to get into the conversation with people about racist versus prejudice, and I said, listen, everybody's prejudiced. Right. I could be prejudiced. You and me could be walking down the street and we see something going on that's crazy, and it doesn't look quite right based on what our programming in mind is individually, and then as a unit of two dudes walking down Michigan Avenue. We might see something and go, that's messed up, or that's something we're prejudging because we don't know what's happening. So prejudice is a word that necessarily I get wigged out about, because we all do it. None of us are immune to it. Racism, sexism, those biases, bigotry. Those are the things that get us, into trouble, because when they go unchecked, it allows people to continue to perpetuate, and then prejudice becomes kind of the first thing, but it's based on the racism that they were led down, or sexism or bigotry, a path to believe. So I want to circle back to something you said a moment ago about the countries, how the U.S. is a fixing place, and I like the way you put that. That most global issues that take place, most of the things that happen anywhere in the world, good, bad, or indifferent, we've tried to be a part of the fix of that. Yeah, and in some cases, we've tried to quote instill democracy in other areas, where the reason that they've got issues is because we started some garbage in the first place. Sure. So our fix is our way of giving ourselves, a little bit of passage, is to go and try to fix it. And sometimes we make it worse, and sometimes we make it better. But at the end of the day, in the United States, and one of the things that makes me still be a believer in the country and want to fix the problems is because I know that historically we've done a good job, but we haven't been perfect.
Sure.
The problem with the country, I believe right now, is that too many people think the country's perfect and without its faults and without its bad stripes. And as a result, it doesn't allow people to actually look at themselves and go, man, I messed that up. We messed this up.
I will say, I think, go ahead, finish that thought, and then I have an addendum.
So we've got to be able, and this is what I talk, the way what I'm merging this to is enslavement. And I talk about this a lot because I'm going to talk about it a lot. As the country has to acknowledge that enslavement took place and it was awful. And it was terrible to so many people and generations of people. It was terrible to people that look like me, but it was also terrible to people that look like you. And the reason it's terrible to you is because until we as a country can acknowledge it full-throated, that it is the original sin, not Jake Tapper's book, but it is the original sin, then we can't fight our way forward together, which is what we're supposed to do. Sure. And then once we've done that, all the other pieces of how our country is misformed and going in a crazy direction, we actually have a chance to fix those things.
Agreed.
And you can overlay that on any category: healthcare. We can lay it on economics. We can lay it on education. We can lay it on a whole bunch of things. When we acknowledge that's the country's original sin and it was wrong, and it was awful for everybody, because the blocks that take place in those categories are all based on what? Enslavement. We don't want we don't want those black folks to have insurance. We don't want them to have a house. Right. And it keeps perpetuating it on and on and on. So that's part of where I stay optimistic about our country's ability to fix itself. It's because I still have this sort of dream that the country someday is going to go, this is our issue. Let's fix that. Let's say by acknowledging it, and now we can actually build on it and go forward.
Yeah, well, I feel like we were on a fairly good path to it until the perfection crowd that you're talking about had a panic about a black president, and that the rest of us really felt like we were entering a new phase of healing. For them, it was a new wound, and they have been nursing that wound and festering it and making it more septic ever since. And that's what Trump's reaction was, and the people around him. I feel about, especially, one of the things that can be a positive, even because I feel like there's been a separation. If there's a battle between two sides right now, and by the way, I'm talking to Richard Chu, host of Chu's Views on WCPT, Chicago's Progressive Talk, my brother on the channel, as well as, we've had, this. I'm glad you could come on the show. I'd love to have you back anytime you want.
Absolutely.
To talk about these things, because they're valuable. Is that I think while we definitely had a split where the maggots are like rah jingoism, America perfect. I don't want to hear any about the negatives. We also had on our side of the aisle a warts only approach. And and the seeds of it come from, bless his heart, Howard Zinn and A People's History of the United States and all these things, which instead of, while trying to rebalance the conversation, probably based on the Reagan, what they thought was the Rambo era, and a mismatch in I think a misreading of pop culture at the time, because there was a big play about the jingoism of Rambo, the authoritarianness of Dirty Harry, those kind of things, and Zinn spoke of like responding to that and going, "Oh yeah, you think America's so great? Fuck you." And wrote that book based on it, which was, again, all warts to kind of compensate for this all, beautiful, perfect skin aspect of it. And I would argue that what was really happening, and obviously I love the 80s, is and I would like to remind everybody that when some of my favorite music and some of our favorite like cute movies and stuff were being made, we were near nuclear destruction at least 4 times. During that period of, right? We almost died globally 4 times. We had that that sort of Damocles over our head. And in the middle of it, we were making progress. You're having movies like Working Girl and other stuff that were talking about women's liberation at the, post 70s, cutting, feminism into the working world. You had, like Roots coming out. You had those stories. But at the same time, I would like to remind everybody that, ironically enough, for however Trumpy Stallone has gotten in his later years, the third Rambo movie was dedicated to the valiant people of Afghanistan, and Dirty Harry's doctor that he always saw in the movies was black, and he had an actor that played a different role in each of a black actor that he worked with for years that played a different role in every movie that he gave, became Horace, his best friend in Sudden Impact, which was about a woman vigilante killing her rapists, and a cop deciding justice was served and hiding that, laying the gun in the hands of the leader of that gang so she could go free, right? Yep. Like, think about, and again, there's a lot of stories that have to be told where you're not there yet, where you're trying, people aren't ready for it. And this is where we got with like Obama being for civil unions, and then Biden coming out going, of course gay people should be able to get married. And everybody in the Obama administration was like, easy, dude, we've done the polling. The public isn't there yet. We hope they'll get there, but we're trying to, this is leadership. Sometimes leadership is onward, men, and sometimes leadership is, it's okay, come here. This isn't so bad, easy. Easy. It's not.
There's some smoke down there. We might want to just. Yeah. Wait. Hold on. Yeah.
That's right. So sometimes the public isn't ready for it yet because they've been so indoctrinated in some bullshit. And if you try to come out and go, fuck this joint, which is what Zinn did and some of the other leftist writers, including Noam Chomsky, who, by the way, again, when asked about his relationship with Epstein, said none of your business, which is the most fucked up answer given by anybody other than Donald Trump about this. I don't get it. But he was writing a bunch of Fuck America books to try and compensate, I think, and they would sell this bullshit Reagan rah-rah story that was going on. People who didn't even understand that Born in the USA was a criticism, was a folk song. It was not a jingoistic rock song. If you listen to the lyrics, it's about how hard it is and how, long fought progress takes fucking work, right? But they didn't, but again, if you just have a cursory view, it's kind of like the people you're talking about with legislation. If you just have a cursory view of pop culture, you may not get that this is the public going, whoa, okay, let's just take one step at a time so we don't slide back. And what happens is if you try to just throw a switch, and I think that's what Trump has tried to do. Trump has tried to throw a switch, and the public is going, hang on a second. It doesn't, you have to move at the pace that the electorate, democracy works even if you don't want it to.
Right, it does. That's exactly right. It works when there are signposts in place. It works. It may not work at the pace you want it to, and exactly the manner in which you want it to, but it does work. And I love what you just said about flipping the switch. Mm-hmm. And I want to merge that up with part of what I was saying about the oversimplification of things. Mm-hmm. Some things are complicated. They're detailed. Yeah. They require time, and they require some just review and study and thinking and, all of that. And so to your
patient, considerate conversation about those things openly, which includes the mistakes, includes, the weaknesses of your argument, so you can find out where they are.
And then make them better for all those that are involved, that are part of that argument. That's such a great way of putting it in terms of democracy and leadership. They've got to go through some stuff. They've got to take time. You can't just flip a switch. And I think a lot of people in America, I'm about to slam Americans, but not in a derogatory way. Americans sometimes are stupid and impatient. Mm-hmm. And because of that, the person that comes along, Donald Trump, that can say, I can fix all this right now. I can do this. I can just flip a switch and this shit will be gone. People are like, yeah, that's what I want because my life has been so awful for so long. But in reality, it didn't necessarily get awful overnight. It progressively got bad.
Yep.
And we're all at fault for that in many ways. But the answer is not, I can just flip a switch and it's gone. Mm-hmm. There's a reason that knee replacement surgery takes a few hours to get done. Right. And it takes a long time, 14 weeks of therapy to recover from it.
Yes.
It doesn't just, even though the tragedy to my knee happened in an instant, the repair for it takes time.
Yes, right. And that's, again, you also have to be able to talk about if there's a major heart attack, as it were, a cardiac arrest on the patient that is the country, like 2008, like 9/11, like COVID, that yes, you're going to need to get an exercise and diet regimen back in place where you're daily getting yourself up, but you're not going to hop up off the operating table and go right back to where you were. And if you try, you will harm yourself. And that was one of the things that the Biden administration, I think, could have messaged a little better. There were a couple of things, and
you could have said, this is going to take some time. This happened. It may have happened in an instant or happened in a short period of time, but the wave of its horror on all of us is going to take some time. I need you all to be patient, not with
and
just me.
And you need to work with us and understand that. And so here's what I will say about like America's sort of impatience for solutions is that if we, and this is where I always try to put it back on us, on my responsibility, what can I do about it? Because anything outside of my locus of control is none of my goddamn business. As a stoic optimist, I believe that anything that's in my control, including voting, I have a responsibility to do with as much care and focus as I possibly can. And anything outside of it, I cannot allow it to interfere with, worrying about whether an astronaut, or whether an asteroid's going to hit us, or whatever, is not something I can handle right now. I can vote for people who I think will set up a planetary defense system eventually to save us all from that, because I like people who think ahead. That makes sense. But that's it. I can't do anything else. And in this, there has been, if you don't address some things, and obviously like trans athletes issues and those kind of things, which have been used as a fucking shuttlecock in between these nonsense, that if we don't have the conversation about it, the broad, deep, important, enduring conversation that protects trans people and allows them to live with dignity and respect, but also keeps people from taking advantage of the laws around them so that they can take advantage of, and victimize people and put the weight of that victimization onto trans people. There was a serial killer, for example, who transitioned after they had murdered a bunch of people, and the idea they made the case was, I'm no longer that man, I'm now this woman, and therefore I am not guilty. Like, trans people shouldn't have to carry that on their back anymore than a rapist claiming they're now a woman so they can be sent to a female prison in England, which happened multiple times. That shouldn't be on the backs of trans people. Trans people should not carry the burden of somebody taking the fact that we're afraid to have a deep conversation about what is, what isn't, what's legal, what's not, around a very complicated and emotionally fraught issue. They shouldn't have to carry that burden. And if we don't do that, if we are afraid to have those conversations and we leave that whole mess on the table because we're afraid to go anywhere near it because of a fear of our own slacktivist class, or people, genuinely hurting someone's feelings because they might misconstrue what we're saying. If we leave that on the table, it leaves it for the Donald Trumps of the world to come along and oversimplify and turn it into a hockey puck. And that's cruel. That's our responsibility. That's where we're wrong. And we leave trans people and other people, and immigrants and others, to the whims of monsters when we don't have honest, deep conversations fearlessly about these kind of things so that we can establish, proper rules and safety and all those kind of things, because we're just off put by it. Because if we don't deal with it, we will leave it to the Donald Trumps of the world to come along and act like a savior and shit all over people. And that's exactly what happens. It's exactly what's happening to trans people. It's exactly what's happening. They're talking about walking back gay marriage. It's exactly what's happening with immigrants right now and the roundups and that kind of stuff. And it's because we ceded that ground, because we were either too afraid or too nervous about how it would be perceived to have a legit conversation about it.
And a third leg to that is that people got too comfortable. And I'll be honest, and it
happens. Yep.
You mentioned this.
We take stuff for granted. That's why I say, like, if people cheered the creation of programs like SNAP and Medicare and Medicaid as much as they decried the removal of them, we wouldn't be in this situation.
Exactly, and that's where going back to what you said about what we can do in our space, I call it my 84-inch wingspan. What I can inside of that, I can do a lot, really a lot. Outside of that, I can't do anything necessarily about that, but it doesn't mean that I shouldn't pay attention to it or be aware of it.
Right.
And what I can do is make sure that what's inside of that 84 inches is spot on and it's handled the right way, and I'm handling my business there so that I'm equipped to then help those who may be outside of it or give them the optimism that can be fixed. We have ceded a lot of territory, Hal. You said this a couple weeks ago we got together. We ceded way too much territory, and the work to get it back is work. It's not tiddlywinks. It's going to take some work to get it back, but I'm down for the fight to get it back.
Me too, because it matters, because it's too important, and I feel like that's the lesson to be brought from this, is that we cannot cede these important conversations to the weakest and cruelest among us, and that's exactly what we do if we don't take things head on. If you're not brave enough to deal with stuff as it stands, social change, economic changes, technological changes, if you're not willing to confront those things, someone else will, and it won't be the good guys. So, Richard, we went a little over, and I greatly appreciate you coming on. Richard Chu from Chu's Views on WCPT. You're welcome back, of course, anytime. I look forward to popping onto your show at some point in the near future. I greatly appreciate our conversations, and I'm glad we got to share a broader one with everybody on my show today. So thank you.
Thanks for having me on, Hal. It's a pleasure to be with you. And, we overuse a phrase, brother from another mother, but in this case, I think it's applicable.
Absolutely. I got to say, like, it's so nice to come across somebody that you respect and enjoy their conversation at the same time. Oftentimes, it's one or the other.
Right.
In this ridiculous case, it's both. So thank you so much, and I'll see you again very soon.
All right, man. Be well and stay safe, Hal.
All right. Cheers. There he goes. Ladies and gentlemen, the great Richard Chu joining us today on the show. So great. And again, the link is in the chat for anybody who wants to go to the page for his show and listen in. Even if you're not in the Chicagoland area, it's worth a listen. So fire it up on I'm scrolling back through. There it is. Yeah. So on Heartland Signal, there it is. I'll pop this up and then I can show you guys. I'm trying to click on it and it won't let me click on it. Son of a... All right, there we go. I'm fine. There we go. I will bring this up now. This is Chu's Views with Richard Chu. There you go. Check it out. Weekdays 6 to 8, 8:20 a.m. The link is in the chat room. So thank you guys so much. Appreciate you guys so much. And I will see you guys later on this afternoon with some heavy duty awful. I can't tell you, I'm gonna so enjoy. Please, God, grant me this. Please let Glenn Beck have seen the Trump Turnberry quote before his show this morning, so that I get to watch his response to it today. I don't have to wait a whole 24 hours to see his wig out. Please, Lord. All right, I'll see you guys later. Take care of yourselves and take care of somebody else. Off we go. Thanks, Richard. I'll see you next time.
All right, man. Be well. Thanks, Al.
Okay. Hey, don't forget to hit that like. That Venmo thing is very large. I apologize. It's a lot. But if you feel like buying me a cup of coffee, that's the way to do it. Take a picture of that with your phone, and you can Venmo me $5 or so. And then, of course, patreon.com/HalSparks, etc., etc., etc. Oh, and I got to see if where's the emote wall again? Did it go away? All right, I'm fixing that right now. Damn it.
got to know his limitations.
How did Zeus's butthole to get out of yourself?
Almost there. Almost there. Okay, browser source. Alright, where's my Twitch people at? See if we can get this emote wall thing happening. Throw some emotes in if you're still on Twitch. See what I can see if it works. And it seems to be weird. Trying. Okay, so it's up, but it's not. It's a Streamlabs issue. Okay. I will, let's see. Enabled? Maybe this. Save settings. Why was that clicked on? Hey, look, it's working again. Yay! All I had to do was throw a switch. Who knew? Ignore duplicates. No, don't ignore duplicates. Save settings. There we go. Go. We'll let them bounce around a little bit. There we go. Whee! Look at that, it's working. I'm so excited. Thanks, Twitch people. Now maybe we'll get some hype trains again. Who knows? All right, I'll see. Yeah, they're doubled because I didn't turn off. I turned off the ignore duplicates, but I'll turn that back on apparently because that's so it won't be doubled. Oh, maybe it's is it on there twice? No. Oh yeah, there we go. There we go. Got it. Now, hey, there we go. Now it's working. Yay! Thank you guys so much. Now I can put it back over the other screen. Yay! All right, I'll see you guys this